Here are 15 lessons of leading a high-performance, faith-centered team. Definitely not going to do this in under a minute. If you want the short, go check it out. It's on the channel. The first lesson that I learned was you need to have a purpose over a paycheck. Your team's purpose has to be bigger than their paycheck. And if they don't know why they're doing something, they're never going to give you their best how. Early on when we were building Prime, we didn't really have a clear vision statement. I was just somebody who got my real estate license, wanted to sell a couple houses, then I wanted to sell a bunch of houses in a neighborhood, then a bunch of houses in a city. We got busy enough that we started bringing on other team members, admin, buyer agents, so on and so forth. We were building the airplane while we were flying it. I knew in my heart of hearts what my purpose was. I wanted to provide stability for my family. I wanted to become known as a trusted real estate agent, but like now we were actually forming an organization, and I didn't even stop to think about onboarding the people onto the same path or vision that we had. I can tell you, after a few difficult departures and terminations, we did sit down and really think about like, who are we and what are the types of people that should be working at Prime, and why are we even doing what we're doing? The reality of why we started our company was we just weren't happy with the service offerings of real estate agents in the marketplace. Call a buyer agent, they set up a portal, you find your own house, they barely even look at the property, and they get paid. But to sell your house, they show up with the same 3 comparables, they barely put any effort beyond each other, they hire the same photographers, they put it on the same MLS system, and they charge insane commissions. And the biggest problem is consumers don't trust real estate agents. So our vision statement became the most trusted name in real estate. We wanted to run a company where we would put the clients in front of our ambitions and our paychecks, and build a brokerage where you could feel like you could actually trust the agents and that they weren't going to double in your property and sell it for 20% under market value to somebody that they had in their pocket, which happens in this industry, unfortunately. And as we started making that our North Star, the most trusted name in real estate, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, rather humility, value others above yourself, we started baking it into everything that we did. All of our trainings, all of our literature, all of our marketing. I would literally write it down in my journal every single day so I know what I'm working towards. And what that did was it gave us the ability to see opportunities when they were right in front of us. So lesson number 2 was actually character and culture. Care for character and then train for skill. So one toxic high performer will poison 10 great team members. Protect your culture at all costs. I had a couple team members over the years where I knew they weren't the right fit. I knew that they were just there to look after themselves and they didn't give anything back to the ecosystem. Saw a couple little signals where they got ultra creative on contracts or partnerships that we had with them and how they had looked at the partnership. And it was very one-sided, but I was probably a little bit too afraid to have that conversation early enough to deal with the issue. And they started talking to other team members, and it actually helped me out a little bit because they exposed other people that didn't have the right mindset. Because I knew it was happening early on, I should have addressed it immediately. I should have sat down with them, had a discussion around the vision, what we were building, was it aligned with what they were thinking we were building, and were we the right fit for each other? But because I was too busy building the airplane while I was flying it, I didn't address it. I just figured I could will myself into making them understand the value of the partnership. Meanwhile, we weren't in a partnership. They were looking at it as a transaction. I was looking at it like we were family. And the longer you let that drift, the more toxic it becomes. Now, the good news was the culture that we had created was a lot of the people who were on board with what we were trying to create came to me when those people came to them and started being toxic. At that point in time, we drew a line in the sand. We had a departure. We washed our hands of it, and we realized that it was one of the best things for our ecosystem. And to this day, almost every single departure has been an ultra positive. Some that handled the departure really, really well, I still have great relationships with. Others who showed me a very different side of them on their departure, I wish them well, but they definitely don't belong in our ecosystem. And I learned more about them when they left than I did in all the time they spent in our ecosystem, but we will talk about that another day. Lesson number 3, servant leadership. So servant leadership is not a suggestion. It actually has to be the standard. Your job is to clear obstacles, not to be the hero of the movie. I am a firefighter and I'm an air traffic controller more than I'm anything else. The ability for me to stand in the gap and take the bullets and take the stress so that they can perform to their highest level is probably one of my most valuable things to my organization. One thing I will say though is, as a leader, just because you did something nice for somebody doesn't mean they actually owe you anything. You will have regret. You will be resentful for all these amazing things you did for people in some of their hardest times. When they flip on you and they turn into that transactional mindset and they leave, you take it as an attack on your character and you come up with all these scenarios in your mind as to why they owed you loyalty. Nobody owes you anything, and it shouldn't change how you treat people. You treat people the right way because it's the right thing to do. The right people will find their way into your world and the wrong people will find their way out. That is a system that is actually working. Lesson number 4, accountability and grace. You definitely have to hold people accountable to your standards, but you need to lead with grace when they fall short. High standards and high compassion are not mutually exclusive. One of the biggest mistakes a leader can make is constantly lighting people up when they're down. They make a mistake and you just start berating them or being hard on them. That is not the time. You need to hold them accountable. We maybe need to analyze the situation and debrief and see what we could have done different or how we can improve the system moving forward. But you support them. You want to be in the foxhole with them, not standing on top, pouring water on their head when they're in a tough situation. The whole topic's really important because you need to switch your head from thinking about building a business to building people. And when you build people with faith and purpose, they'll build everything else around you to a much higher standard. I've done it both ways, and I can tell you it makes a much bigger difference if you put the people before the profits. You will have a better system. You'll have a better company. People will want to work with you. They will trust you a lot more, and long term, you'll be a lot more successful than those people who are just burning bridges around them and not doing the things that I just reiterated. Let me know which of the 4 lessons you got the most from, or if you've ever seen it in practice in your world.